Hey guys, welcome to the Jellyfish Manifesto. My name is Eric, and beside me is my co-host Dylan.
Hi.
And today we have a special guest, and his name is Greg Hill, and he is a photographer and just an all-around artist. And he also is an author. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing good.
Beautiful day.
It is a beautiful
Really
day.
hot outside. But at Jellyfish Manifesto, we like to start with a fun fact about jellyfish each episode. This is the first episode, so I guess this is the first fact. So we are not experts, and I did not use multiple sources for these facts. So they might not be true. And you know what? That will just be okay. So first fact of our podcast, jellyfish do not have brains, hearts, lungs, or bones. They are simple organisms comprised of an outer epidermis, a gelatinous middle layer, and an inner layer for digestion. So, pretty empty. Okay, we can start the actual questions. Thanks for sitting through that, guys.
So, as a photographer myself, you have a Canon. What made you want to get the Canon versus a different brand?
I've always worked with Canon. I spent my last 2 years of high school at the CTC down in Clayton, and my major was digital design. Learned photo editing, video editing, and all that stuff, even flash animation. I really did good with photo manipulation using Photoshop. At that time, it was Photoshop CS2. Sometimes I didn't always have access to some of the stock images, and the cameras that they had available in my classroom were Canon cameras. And I did try working with some of the other cameras and some of the photography classes, and they used Nikons and other stuff. But I've always found, for me personally, Canon's just better for me to work with.
I mean, let's be honest. Nikon sucks anyways.
I was just about to say, so like I'm a camera enthusiast. I'm just not a photographer. So I watch like a lot of YouTube videos about new cameras and good cameras for like point and shoot and different ratios and stuff. And Nikon seems like it was on top of the world and then didn't stay up to date with every other camera company. So it just fell behind so fast. I'm not saying there's not great Nikon cameras that are out now, but I think Canon and Sony are sort of
on Nikon
dominating
levels, it's definitely great. But compared to Sony or Canon, they're definitely still slacking behind, for sure.
Yeah, and then there's other companies like Lumix is really good, but they're not as great for video. And I love cameras. I'm just not good at photography right now. I only take pictures of bridges.
You also got like a few that are up and coming. Like Sigma's coming out with their own cameras now. I think I saw Polar Pro was starting to invest in a camera. I know they have lenses now.
Yeah.
What is your all-time favorite photo that you've taken?
Ooh, that's a tough one. For the longest time, it was this shark ray photos I took when me and my family went to Newport Aquarium. I had a hood lens to cover it up so I could block out the lens glare from the glass. Mm-hmm. And it was just this really, really nice shark ray that had just been swimming in. It came in at a slight angle, so it looked like it was coming at you. And without the lens glare, it was just really nice. But then we had the solar eclipse last year, and I had bought a special filter for that. Spent 3 hours just doing the whole thing from start to finish. And when it did the, when the whole moon got covered and it got real dark and it had that ring around it, that became my new favorite because I snapped it at just the right point where it looked like an upside down diamond ring.
Yeah.
When you went to Newport, did you just go as a family trip, or did you like?
It was a family trip, yeah. And I just wanted to take some pictures just to try my hand at animal photography at that time, because up until that point, I was doing strictly like landscapes and stuff, and I wanted to try and expand upon that to include animals.
So your favorite photo was just a complete mistake, like it wasn't supposed to happen?
I had wanted to get a picture of the shark ray, and it just happened to turn at just the right point as I was taking the picture, and I had taken like 3 or 4 pictures in succession, and that particular one was chef's kiss.
I have to love when that happens.
Some of the best pictures I've taken was actually by accident. Like last night, I took a picture over at St. Mary's Grand Lake with the moon. It was still pretty high up compared to the horizon, but I snapped a picture, and the moon doesn't look like a moon. It actually looks like, looks like a really bright star, like what you find in like a Bible movie or something.
Who are some people that you're looking up to right now in the photography field?
I gotta give credit to Steve Irwin's son because he's really good. As for other people, man, I have to give credit to my friend. Her name's Lisa Snyder. She's been a photographer for years. She's a family friend, and she also happened to do my wedding photos for me and my wife. And
That's
she's
awesome.
She's real nice. So I gotta give her credit too. I consider her friend / photo rival because part of me wants to be like, I'm just as good as you type thing.
You have to have a rival sometimes,
Yeah.
something to aim for.
And the issue with photography, and I'm sure you know this at this point, there's so many different photographers out there.
Yes.
Like I want to say in Piqua alone, there's at least 200 photographers. Me being one of them. What are some ways that you're trying to stay ahead of the competition?
I don't view, for me personally, I don't view photography as a competition. For me, it's just a passion. When I was, like I said, took 2 years for digital design. When I graduated, I actually had a desire to be a wildlife photographer for like National Geographic, Time Magazine, similar. Unfortunately, that did not work out the way I had hoped, and now I just snap pictures because it brings me happiness.
Yeah.
So, and I keep I try and stick primarily to nature and wildlife and stuff because working with other people in a photography setting it can go one way or the other. Yes.
Yeah, I 100% agree on that. When I first got into photography, I did it with my buddy Travis, and he's a lot more of a people person than I am. So he was able to tell them what pose to be in and everything. And I'm just like, I'd rather catch you doing something that you enjoy physically doing and try to capture the best moment that you're doing that in compared to like making you awkwardly stand in a pose or, you know what I mean?
Kind of like Candid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like with nature photography, it's the same boat because you don't have to tell the flower.
Yeah, everything in nature is candid.
Yeah.
You're not telling a deer how to pose or something. But I love nature photography. It's one of my favorite type of pictures to look at, especially stuff like the moon and everything. I'm sure that eclipse picture is incredible, but I love nature photography because it's so raw. There's not a lot of influence there. You just take a picture of what is directly in front of you, you know?
What editing program do you use?
Obviously, I don't really have too much in the way of funding, so I can't afford to do like Photoshop anymore. So I find open source programs right now for processing. After I do I just download. I think it's a Darklight, I believe it's called. I could be wrong. And it's basically just a post processing picture that turns it from CR2 to JPEGs, and I just used to kind of like make minor adjustments from the raw photo style. And then GIMP is for my for any photo editing that I might have to do, like maybe removing excess light or like the red dots and eyes of the animals if I take any. So yeah, those are the programs I primarily use.
If you trying to think of how I exactly want to word this, it was at the top of my head while you were talking, and then I lost it. If you were to take a photo that like has like the base necessities of what you're wanting in it, but it doesn't look exactly how you want it to look, what would be like the process that you would use to change the photo, like to manipulate it?
I actually do hit that problem quite often. There's always just like one or two minor things that could be tweaked up. Sometimes it could be just maybe a picture is too light or too dark, and I'll just adjust the levels on that. But if it's something major, like maybe a bird, like if I took a picture of a bird and it decided to lift one wing, like just I was taking a picture, it's all blurry. If I can fix the blur, I will. But if not, I'll just take the wing away. Just minor stuff, and just keep the background looking as natural as possible. I never try and do more than the bare minimum for that type of photography.
Because you don't want it to be too fake or anything like that. I get that, yeah. If you could upgrade your equipment right now, what camera would you get?
I love my camera. I'm going to stick with the Canon Rebels because, like I said, I've been working with them since. Oh man, I'm aging myself. I graduated in 2007. I've been working with Canon Rebel since 2007, so I will just stick with that. The only things that I think I would upgrade is I would like to have a much stronger lens, and I'm also slowly getting into astrophotography. And
That's awesome.
And I have some of the basic equipment for that, but I'm working on getting the rest of it so I can start taking like nebula photos and stuff, which you can do with some of the lenses that I do have. It's just I kind of want them to be from like small to a little bit bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
I was actually at the pawn shop in Sydney yesterday, and I think they have, at least while I was there, they had a photography telescope for sale. And I was like, I haven't seen one of these in forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and those things can get real pricey.
Oh, 100%. Because I remember, I think it was the episode of Drake and Josh, actually. But Megan was using, like, a full-on, like, camera that was connected to the photography telescope. But she also had her computer, like, typing in what constellations and everything she wanted photos of.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's, like, the dream goal. Because, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like upgrading anything with the camera is just expensive. Upgrading your camera is really expensive. Like, I have a cheap camera compared to most people. Mine costs like $800. My dream cameras are like the $2,000 Sonys, you know, like the ones that are just way out of my price range. Or for video, the Blackmagic cameras, which are incredible, but they're insanely expensive. It's just so hard to upgrade a camera if you're on a budget.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Even not on a budget, they're still overly expensive.
Yeah, and there's too many options. Like, there's a great Sony camera, and then there's going to be a similar camera made by Canon. There's going to be similar cameras made by some of the other smaller competitors. And then the really expensive cameras made by people like Blackmagic that are meant to make movies.
And then, like, sometimes even one of the expensive cameras might not be the thing that you need. It could be a cheaper camera.
Oh, exactly. Because, like, the Blackmagic cameras are great, but they're hard to work with if you don't know how to use a Blackmagic camera.
Yeah. It's such a specific field.
Yeah.
What are some, like, things that keep you motivated to do photography? Not take.
Oh God, that's a big question. I think most of it is like I said, it is a passion. It's something I've been into since I was a kid. But these days, I also kind of use it to help with my mental health as well. It gets me out of the house, so I'm not I'm not alone with my thoughts. I get out there, I get out in nature, surrounded by trees and. Listening to waters and stuff. And if I see something, even if it's just a simple, unique leaf on the ground, I'll snap a picture of it, but I'll make sure I try and do it as in an artistic way.
Right.
And I think that doing that and the fact that I would like to share some of like my vision out there is probably what keeps me motivated to keep doing pictures.
I saw a TikTok trend for photography, obviously, where it was like what you see like out in nature versus what I see out in nature, and it'd be like the wide shot of like the path and everything, but then it's like he's like really close up on a leaf that has like this brilliant background, but it was like everything that you already see, but you're not really seeing it because you don't have the eye for the photography,
Yeah.
So I think having the ability, like you were saying, to be artistic with the things that are around you is definitely a game changer. Dylan, I know you have a bunch of questions here.
So I want to pivot a little bit to some of the painting questions I had, because that's what I was most excited about with this interview, was talking about painting a little bit. I love paintings like Monet and Van Gogh and some of the, I guess, older artists, but they're still technically modern art. So where did your journey as a painter begin?
It's always been weird because both my mom and my dad are not very artistic. My mom's more of a computer person, and my dad was a athlete. And I know how to run a computer on the most basic level, but I can't like program or nothing. And I was never really that deep into sports. I mean, I played soccer when I was a kid for a couple of years. But according to my family, I was basically an artist from birth. I guess I don't remember this, but according to my grandma, I once picked up a pencil and just started doodling away, and I came out with this UFO, I guess, and it looked, according to them, it looked fantastic. They don't have a picture of it anymore, and it doesn't exist. I started off with like pencil drawings and stuff, and I did get pretty good at that. And then I started watching a lot of Bob Ross on TV. It's, summertime and it's rain or something. So there's Bob Ross, and I just did my best with the little watercolors and stuff, which doesn't quite work as well as oil paint for that style of painting. And then I kind of took a step away from painting to focus on photography. Then back I'd probably say about 10 years ago or so, I picked up some painting supplies because I just felt like painting one day, and threw Bob Ross on, and I just kind of followed along with him. Now that I was older and can actually process some of the stuff that he was doing, and fell in love with it.
Yeah, I really hope Bob Ross understood how many people he got into painting, because that show was incredible, especially back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked a little bit about like photography inspirations and people you really like in photography right now. Do you have any painting inspirations?
Not just for the oil painting. I also do spray painting. I like Banksy. His style is really nice.
Yeah, I love Banksy.
Yeah, I had Banksy written down as an example for this question.
Yes.
Banksy is incredible.
So yeah, Banksy's really good. He's actually inspired me. He's the reason I started getting into spray painting. And obviously Bob Ross was also an inspiration. And I also, I love Van Gogh. Van Gogh was a tortured soul, but he was really good with his colors.
Yeah, incredible. Starry Night's maybe my favorite painting. He has so many great paintings, but that one just stands out to me a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so would you say you're self-taught as a painter then?
Yes, I do follow along like with Bob Ross from time to time, especially if there's maybe like a technique that I don't quite have down in muscle memory. But for the most part, it's literally just experiment. If I didn't like it, scrap it, start over again. Because that's really all it is in order for you to become better in any art skill, whether it's photography, videography, painting, drawing. You mess up, start over. And you just keep doing it until you can't mess up anymore.
Yeah, I used to love to draw cartoon characters when I was younger. And the number of papers that got thrown away was insane. Not the number of pictures that got finished, just the pile of paper around the trash can from where you're getting frustrated that something didn't work out the way you wanted it to.
Yeah.
It can build up a lot. And then have you ever worked on a commissioned painting?
I used to do commission paintings from time to time. I just did one a couple months ago for a coworker, but I actually try and avoid doing commission paintings, and that's because I don't like to feel like I'm limited on how I should create something. So I just stop doing commission paintings, because if I'm limited, it affects the quality of my work, and if it doesn't bring me happiness, my work will not be as good as I know it can be. Yeah. So I avoid commissions at this point.
Yeah, I think it can be tough because it's not as much about your creativity. It's more about following direction.
Yeah.
And that can be a little limiting, like you said. So I completely understand that. I don't think I could commission anything from, I don't think I could get a commission for anything that I do because I just wouldn't be as excited to get it done.
It's true. If I know you have more questions, but
No,
I'm gonna
you're
jump
good.
in here. If you had to relate painting to photography, whether it's a spray paint or acrylic or watercolor or anything, what would be the one bridge that connects the two for you?
I would have to say emotion, because you can. It doesn't matter whether it's painting in any style, or photography, or even drawing. If you can convey, if you can put something out there that draws out some kind of emotional connection with it, it doesn't matter what medium it's in. It makes you feel a certain way, and I think that's the bridge itself. Because if you can do a picture of a tree with a bird, and if you do that in painting versus photography versus a pencil drawing or something, if the emotion is there, it doesn't matter whether it's what medium it's in.
Have you ever tried to do like a series of basically like the same picture, but with like different
Different mediums.
mediums?
Mm-hmm.
I actually have not tried that. No, I don't think I've ever tried that.
It might be a cool idea. I don't know.
I might look into that.
Do you have any mediums you've wanted to try that you haven't tried yet? So I know there's like charcoal and different canvas types and stuff like that.
It's going to sound weird. I would like to try and get my hands on like animal bones, like skulls and stuff, and use that as the canvas. But people might find that a little macabre.
I think there's certainly a market for it, though. The macabre can draw a lot of attention in. I think there's a group of people that would probably love that.
Especially like depending on what you put on the bones, because I feel like some countries like they do that naturally,
Yeah.
and like if you do like thinking here like some kind of like dark like black and white kind of thing on it, like that might be really cool. Like I'm kind of getting excited trying to think about it right now.
Yeah. No, I think I completely understand what you said about the emotion, because some of the best painters are the ones that you look at their painting and just feel what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Including Banksy. Banksy's paintings are famous for a reason, like the one that got shredded in the museum, which I think is one of the coolest things that's ever happened.
That really was cool.
Yeah.
They ended up eventually selling it, and it like doubled in price because they called it an art piece that was actively destroyed.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. And then obviously the great painters like Monet and everybody, they painted something that you could feel what they were trying to say.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important with that kind of stuff. Okay, have you ever doubted your path as an artist? And how did you end up getting through that?
Like I said, I use art as a way to kind of help with my mental health. And while I have not been professionally diagnosed, I do believe I suffer from something, I think it's called imposter syndrome, where I doubt my skills because I feel like like in painting, if I'm doing oil-based painting, to me, it feels like I'm just repeating the motions of what Bob Ross did. It doesn't feel like me. Same thing with spray paint, because I didn't even start spray painting until I started seeing a lot of Banksy's works. So that does affect a lot, and there'll be times where I'll go months without touching anything, not even my camera. And then it's just to get through that, I just kind of have to remind myself, yes, I had to learn somewhere, but they didn't do this. They didn't paint this. They didn't shoot that picture. That was all me.
Yeah.
But it's still that voice in the back of your head that's like, that's the part that you got to fight. And when it's in your head, if anyone who suffers from any mental health issues, they'll understand.
Yeah, I think it can be tough because it's your own spin on it, but everybody takes inspiration from somebody. The great artist took inspiration from older artists. Sometimes they're contemporaries. Sometimes we'll be shooting a video and I'll think to myself, wow, Smosh has already done this. But it's tough because you want to make something uniquely yours. But
Not
anything
even
you make
that.
is yours.
Like the idea for this podcast, like how many millions of other people are doing a podcast exactly like this?
Yeah.
You know, like we threw the creative spin of the jellyfish, but like besides this and the little fact, it's not really about jellyfish.
Hey, the jellyfish, we have to connect it somehow. We thought it was a cool name.
I think it flows off the tongue pretty
Yeah.
well.
But no, I think it is tough when you're an artist to just disconnect from everybody else doing the same thing. But like you said, it is a good medium to get through some like mental illness issues and just express yourself somehow.
Have you ever had a moment where the mental health is like attacking you while you're doing your work?
Yes, that actually happened. I want to say 2 months ago when I was working on a painting. I was just sitting there in my basement, just painting away, and then it got hit, and I stopped for a minute, and then I took a quick walk around the block. It didn't really quite go away, but I did make a slight change. I put up some plastic against the wall, put my tripod with the painting on it against it, and I just started throwing painting at the canvas. I felt better, but then I got upset with myself because this painting I'd been working on for the past 20 minutes was ruined, but it still looked cool.
Yeah. I think sometimes it can be kind of important to lean into it because there's artists like Van Gogh and authors like Hemingway that the reason the work was so good was because they were having so many problems in their everyday life. And you can kind of feel it in their work a little bit. So I think sometimes it's important to just take that into account. I know one of my favorite art series I've ever seen is there was this guy on TikTok, I wish I knew his name, that had schizophrenia. And all of his artworks were just hallucinations he had in the moment. And they were so good, but they were very visceral. You could feel like the fear coming out of the canvas. And I think that can be really powerful sometimes.
I think I've seen that pass my TikTok a couple times.
Yeah, it was really cool. But it was very dark paintings, but it was a cool thing to see from his perspective what he was seeing every day.
I personally think a lot of beautiful things come from a place of hurt or maybe not being mentally okay with yourself. Like a lot of great music, Linkin Park, for example, a lot of their songs were wrote from obviously a depressed place. And I think it's just great to know that there are people here who understand and care, and because it's easy to forget about that kind of thing, which is kind of why I asked about like if it had happened while you were working on something you enjoy, because I get that way a lot. And like I really enjoy editing and editing photos, the videos, but like halfway through I'll be like, gosh, I really hate myself right now. You know what I mean? And so, but luckily there's 2 kids in my life who really enjoy me and love me, and they help me get through a lot of the things that I battle too. So I fully understand going through that. If you had to choose one thing to stick with for the rest of your life as a creative output, what would it be?
I probably have to stick with photography. It's, in a way, it's cheaper, but because oil paints get expensive after a while. But you can also you can travel a lot more with it and do a lot more with it as well. If I can ever overcome my fear of deep ocean water and heights, I would like to try and do stuff from like maybe scuba diving with whales and try to get pictures, underwater pictures of them. Or possibly get mountain pictures from a hot air balloon, but
that'd be awesome.
But yeah. I gotta get over those fears first.
That's tough.
Yeah. I thought I was like big and bad a couple of days ago. We took my boy to the fair in Piqua. Mm-hmm. We got on the Ferris wheel, and not even halfway up yet. Like I've noticed because I'm bigger than him, obviously, so it's tilting. And I'm freaking out. Meanwhile, he's having the time of his life. First time ever on a Ferris wheel, having the time of his life. And we get up to the top and it stops. And I'm like, oh my, full anxiety. And he's just the biggest smile on his face ever. And I'm like, no, cannot do this.
I didn't think I was afraid of heights at all until I went to Kings Island years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago now. And they have that stupid ride where it's the swings. It goes really high up.
I know what you're talking about.
And
yes,
I refused to ride the drop tower because I don't want to be dropped down.
No.
But I got on that swing ride, and I'm like, oh, this can't be that bad. It's just a swing. You don't feel like you're secured in there at all. It's so loose, and then you're higher than anything else in the park. So I'm looking down and I'm like, I'm afraid of heights. This is terrifying. I'm like, I've never felt this way before. I felt awful, but I will never go back on those swings.
I remember the one time when I went with you and Cozy to Kings Island, and you guys forced me down. Was it Diamondback? Like the tallest roller coaster there?
Diamondback is great.
Yeah. I was screaming like a little girl. My hands were numb when we got off the ride because of how much I was clenching onto the handlebars. Like, no.
Ridiculous side story that has nothing to do with this podcast. So I rode Diamondback once, and there was this older man who sat beside me because I was in a group of 3 people, and he was with his family, so he was like the extra person also. So we sat together, and he was wearing a hat. And I'm like, there's no way this guy keeps the hat on, right? Like, he has to know, or at least hold it down or something. If for anybody who hasn't watched or hasn't ridden Diamondback, you go up pretty high, and then it's a very steep drop. So I'm like, there's no way the guy doesn't know how Diamondback works. The drop happens, he doesn't touch his hat. It immediately flies off. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So the dude, he lost his hat. You're not getting that hat back. But it flew so far away. I'm like, that's not great. I felt so bad for the guy. But it's like, you should have looked at the roller coaster before you got on it.
That's my biggest fear, wearing glasses, because glasses are expensive.
Oh, yes.
I'm just waiting for the day I hop on a ride and my glasses fly off.
Whenever I would get on I'd just hold on to them like this. There ain't no way I'm losing these glasses because I can't see.
I'd probably break mine, to be honest, if I did that.
Yeah. Okay, well, I did want to talk a little bit about something that was brought up right before we started shooting. So you say you've written some short stories and you have written a novel that you haven't published yet.
Yeah.
What genre of story do you like to write? Is there anything specific?
I like to dabble mostly in not quite horror or thriller, but more like drama.
Yeah.
Stuff, and I like to leave the ending to be interpreted. When it's short stories, I like to leave the ending to be interpreted by the reader, like how things progressed. If I can, I'd like to use an example from one of my short stories.
Of course.
It was actually inspired by a writing prompt that I found on Facebook. You were selected by an alien council to either save or doom the Earth to be destroyed because humans were considered a virus by this council. And I read through it and I was just thinking of like, well, what if there's a third option? Could you persuade a third option? So that's what inspired what eventually became the short story, The Drifting Council. And in it, it's presented in first person perspective, so the man's narrating everything that happened. And he was put in like this helmet, and he had to witness the crimes as well. What the Council of Aliens had was considered the crimes of the human virus, and he had to witness it not just from the victim's perspective. He also had to experience it as well as the killers. So he starts way back off in caveman times, and he starts off as the person who's being killed. Then he goes back, and then he has to experience it as the killer. But he's not just experiencing it, like from an outside perspective. He has to experience it, and he had to go through this throughout all of human history up until that point. And I think at one point, when I was trying to describe just how many deaths he had to go through, I described it as I thought up, built, launched, and died in the Hiroshima bombs. I was Hitler and died in Auschwitz, I was Jonestown. But the idea for that one, what eventually happened was he was trying to make that choice as to what he was going to do, and he sees the whole planet, it's all in dark because the aliens have shut down all electricity. And he sees the sun cresting over the side. He's like, what if we just limit human technology and then just give them a chance to correct their wrongs? So then he persuaded the aliens, give humans 3 more years, but take away like modern day weapons, make sure they cannot have, electricity or anything like that. He passed on the message to the Earth that these were the changes that was going to happen. And 3 years pass, the aliens decide, okay, humans can live for another 1,000 years, but we will keep monitoring them. And he says, I can't go back down there because that world is no longer my world. I would like to pass away up here from lack of oxygen. So the idea for that one is maybe humans will get better, maybe humans won't. But I leave that up to the readers to interpret.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. I love that. Because I do think sometimes technology can be a little bit of a hindrance to society. It's certainly helped us advance a lot, but there's a lot of cons there. Do you have a favorite author?
I am a huge Stephen King fan. My mother-in-law used to have his entire book collection up to a few years ago in hardbacks. She ended up giving them away, and I managed to get 2 of the 3 boxes. So I have like almost his entire collection in hardback books at home. I love J.K. Rowling's books.
Yeah.
And I also like this author. His name's Gregory Galloway, and he wrote a book called As Simple as Snow, which I read back in 12th grade, but it was really nice. It was the first paragraph that got me. Anastasia Kane came to our school in late September, but by February she had one by one killed everyone in town. And it was no small feat, and she didn't do it alone. I helped with a few, including my best friend, but still it was no small feat, even if it was a small town.
That's how you hook somebody.
That is how you hook someone in. And it was a really good book.
Yeah, I love Stephen King. I think he's probably one of the best authors of our time, honestly. And then his son, I don't know if you've read any of Joe Hill's books.
I don't think I have, no.
So Joe Hill is his son. He started going by Joe Hill because he did not want to become a published author by being Stephen King's son. So he has a pseudonym. I think that's the way
I heard his books were really good, too.
They're really good. So he wrote Horns, which became a movie that has Daniel Radcliffe in it.
I think I saw that once.
Yeah. The book is much better, like most movie adaptations, but he wrote a book called Heart-Shaped Box, which was really dark but really good, and then a book called Nosferatu. And I think a few years ago, him and his dad wrote a book together. But I always thought it was interesting because he says when they were growing up, his dad made him and his brother come up with stories every day. So like it was like a creative process to get them to be good storytellers. And his brother writes nonfiction books. So a lot different than his dad, but his dad and his brother, but the entire family is authors, and they're all incredible. So love Stephen King, though. I think Joe Hill's dialogue is a little bit better.
Imagine having your dad be Stephen King and not be an author.
It has to be crazy because it's like you're growing up knowing that you have to at least release a book.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be good, but you have to try because your dad is Stephen King.
It's like having a dad who's a doctor. Like he has to do something with healthcare at some point.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I love Stephen King. I know, like you said, J.K. Rowling is a great author. It's just everything else is a little... We don't get political, but there's issues there.
There are some issues.
She's very divisive right now.
Yes. That's the best way to probably talk about it.
Yeah.
Where do you post your short stories?
There's a website called Draft 2 Digital that I posted on, and it will have the stories as ebooks through like BarnesandNoble.com and similar stuff. So you can find them online and just about any place where you can find an ebook. I don't think Audible does not Audible. Kindle. I don't think they do Kindle yet, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
and I've only got like 2 or 3 stories published up on there. Drifting Council is one of them, and Judgment Day, I know it's another one. I'm not quite sure if I got a third one up there yet or not.
Do you have a goal of eventually taking the short stories and having physical copies and selling them at like fairs and stuff?
I've thought about it. I'm not sure if I have the drive to keep writing short stories to be able to reach that type of goal, especially after writing that novel that still hasn't been published yet, because that one spent like 10 years in my head, and then I spent 2 years writing it down, and it was just almost all my free time was devoted to just writing that one. It's just like it took a lot of time away from family and kids. It's just like maybe I should take a step back and just write, once the kids are growing up and living their own lives.
Yeah, it can be tough to keep up with it. I think the worst part about writing your story, so I've tried to write a few books when I was younger, is the revision stage.
Yes.
Just reading the book and being like, nope, I have to like make a new copy. This is a bad rough draft. And then just the doubt of, is this book good enough for other people to read? But I know if you decide to publish a novel anytime soon, I recently looked into it, and Amazon has some great self-publishing, and they can put the book onto Kindle and everything. So that's always an option to look into.
Okay.
But the way that Amazon does self-publishing, I really enjoy. So I have a friend that self-published a few books through Amazon a few years ago. And they make the book as people buy it. So you order the book on Amazon's market, and then they will make that book and send it out. Because a lot of old self-publishing was you buy 1,000 copies of the book, and you have to sell it yourself. So Amazon takes that work off of you and will help you self-publish. So I think they do a good job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many good things about Amazon and so many bad things about Amazon.
Yeah.
If you could write a book within like a week, but like still have plenty of extra time and everything, like during the week for like your family and to do things that you enjoy, it's a hard ask, obviously. But would you go nonfiction or would you go fiction with it?
I love to do fiction because there's endless possibilities with fiction. I believe before we started the podcast, we talked about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was about 10 years old. And some of the stories that I used to write when I was younger was based off of the campaigns that me and my friends would run. And you can do so much with fantasy and fiction that you can't really do with nonfiction.
Yeah, I think Dungeons and Dragons is a great outlet for people that want to write books, because I loved writing when I was younger. I don't have time for it. But I can run a campaign with my friends, and they help write the story. It's more of a collaborative storytelling medium. But I know there's been a lot of people that have just like recorded the campaigns to make into fantasy books later on, and I think that's really interesting. You just have to be careful to not get sued by Hasbro.
Yes. You got to change a couple things. So that's not a Tarrasque. That is not a Tarrasque. That is a gargantuan tea monster.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to change a lot of names because they are very finicky about their names.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that video game that came out that was like a Pokemon ripoff.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
Power World.
Yeah, Power World, yes. My friend played that for a while.
And then they got sued by the makers of Pokemon.
Hey, I think they made it out of that. So
Did they?
Yeah, because
I thought they had to change a bunch about the game, though.
Well, Pokemon couldn't prove that they actually stole anything. It was a weird thing. But it also, I don't think it fully made it to the courts because Japan doesn't have very good copyright laws, and Pokemon is based out of Japan. So
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think it didn't make it as far as, it was mostly a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's threatening everybody these days.
Honestly, Nintendo is a very litigious company, too, so that doesn't help. Just like Hasbro can be a little litigious. They've gotten themselves into controversy recently with like Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. Yeah,
that game's been going downhill for a while. Thinking I had it in my head and then it went away. I'm tired. Of course, I'm sure you're tired just getting done camping.
I mean, I didn't get to bed till almost 3 a.m. Then I had to be back up at 8:50 to pack up my stuff. So maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Where are some places that people can find your work for sale or be able to read?
Like I said, you can find most of it online through places where you can find most audiobooks. I try and sell some of my paintings through Facebook Marketplace. And my photos I do for stock photos, I actually have a pick fair website called Eye of Almond, which is nickname I took for myself, OMMIN. And it's that's where you can find most, if not all, of the stuff that I want to sell for photos. And I just sell the stock photos for anything.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being our first guest on the Jellyfish Manifesto.
It was an honor.
Did you have anything you would like to say to people that might be considering getting into art but are a little timid about it?
Actually, yeah. Starting out doing anything, it's not going to be perfect the first time. It's not even going to be perfect the 10th or 100th time. But if it's something you feel really passionate about, you definitely need to just keep plugging away at it because eventually you will get better. And even I've been doing photos for over 20 years, and I still have those times where I'll take a picture and I'll take 100 pictures and maybe keep one of them and delete the rest. But you got to keep pushing because no one else is going to be able to capture your perception of reality the way you do. So that's what I would have to say.
Fantastic advice. I love that. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. Like Eric said, we really appreciated having you here.
It's been great talking to you and finding more things out about you.
If anybody is interested in finding any of your work, we will put some comments, or it will be in the description.
Links will be in the description for
the links will
his
be in the
work.
description. And thanks for coming on.
Oh, yeah.